Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. This is part 2 of What If Deku was a pro wrestler. And as always, if you guys enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I don't want to waste much more of your time. Make sure to check the links in the description for the Discord, the Spotify, and also the membership if you want to check any of those out. And yeah, that's all I really got to say. I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into the video, so let's get it. Izuku Midoriya's next steps to that glorious person he wants to be in terms of being a hero is, well, the UA Sports Festival. And the UA Sports Festival is a time that he can grow to unimaginable heights. One thing Izuku knows and really understands is that a big audience is something he thrives off of, and he's only kind of thrived off of, decently sized audiences, up to a, I would say maybe at max a couple thousand, but this is far greater than that, far greater than that. And frankly, it makes all of the other kind of places, the other matches, and all this other stuff that he's done in the past look like child's play, because the UA Sports Festival may start with something simple like the cavalry battle, with everybody cheering, chanting, and raving, and as Izuku Midoriya would obviously embrace all of that and just sprint through this entire place as quick as possible, everybody starts realizing quickly that he is somebody to cheer for, and Izuku Midoriya is someone that they can enjoy and love and put their passion right onto. And when in doing so, and as the passionate fans start screaming his name, he gets so much faster, so much better, and so much quicker. And Izuku Midoriya starts pushing the pace throughout the entirety of the obstacle course race, and he outpaces every last person that is there, making it honestly seem like child's play, and make everybody think that, whoa, this guy might just be levels above everyone else. And as he soaks it all in, as he puts his arms up in the air and embraces all of the chanting, everybody realizes quickly that they are looking at potentially the next best hero. And, well, it doesn't stop there, because Izuku is basically put in a scenario where he has a 10 million point band in the cavalry battle, where if they take his band, they can instantly go on to the next round. But it goes for the same for Izuku, where if he keeps this band, he goes straight forward to that next round as well, and he's focused on doing just that, and he makes it look easy, very easy. I mean, he makes it look simple. He has the team of, it's him, Ochako Uraka, Tokiyami, and Mei Hatsume. But when people start getting near him and near them, he trips them, folds them, pushes them away. I mean, it's easy for him to keep distance and easy for him to control everything, every aspect and every little bit. And people keep chanting the name of him, Izuku Midoriya, over and over again. And eventually, they would get to those 1-versus-1 battles. The battles that would set the tone of everything, because Izuku would stand on the stage face to face with a brand new opponent, someone he doesn't even know, but all he knows is he needs to put on a show, and that show is now. And this guy begins to talk, begins to yap, and begins to question Izuku, and Izuku finds this to be, let's just say, interesting. He finds it to be very interesting, so he goes to respond. And this would be a fatal error, because Izuku's response would lead to him getting mind controlled and him beginning to walk towards that ledge. But as Izuku can feel this, and as the chants for him continue, and as they call to Izuku, telling him almost not to give up, as they stomp their feet louder and louder, he would break free, and he would turn over, and he would immediately jump up and grab the neck of Hitoshi Shinso and he would slam on the ground using a move he's seen from America known as the RKO. And as he does this, as Satoshi Shinso would hit the ground, knocked out, he would be delivered or deemed, the winner, and everybody would continue chanting. And the more and more that happens, the more and more everybody around is realizing that the distance in strength, power, and just chance of winning gets lower and lower as Izuku's grows higher and higher and higher. And it doesn't matter. He may face off with some people that can control elements themselves, facing off with Todoroki, who can control ice and fire, which obviously he's only using ice right now. But Izuku's strength is off the charts. He smashes through the ice, breaking, shattering, and closing the distance so easily. And he can do things at a very high level, to the point where no one seems to be an equal to Izuku, not even close. Defeating Todoroki, throwing him over, and just really soaking in all of the glory of what's going on, all of the glory of what's happening. And this would eventually lead to Izuku facing off with, well, the one and only Tenya Ida, in which he would embarrass him, tripping him, putting him on the ground, and then pinning him. 1, 2, 3, and he would be stuck on the ground, unable to move, and everybody would look at him and be like, wow, that's insane. Like, he is stuck there. He made him look like a joke. He made it look easy, and that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what Izuku Midoriya did. He made it look easy, and he can just continue adding to his repertoire as he faces off with someone like Bakugo. And Bakugo is shown exactly the level he's at. And that level isn't touching Izuku. But All Might is watching currently, and all he can think about is the fact that this kid is stronger than everybody on the field. Everybody here, stronger, faster, better, and it's insane. And he doesn't understand the full capabilities of his quirk, but he does know is that the kid he's a good kid, right? And he has all these capabilities, and maybe, just maybe, he is the perfect person to take on the mantle of All Might, right? Take on One for All. And that's a conversation he's thinking about in his own head, and wonders, maybe Izuku Midoriya is that perfect person for the job. Maybe he should be granted that opportunity. And this is a conversation after the UA Sports Festival, and after Izuku is deemed the winner. It is a conversation that is definitely had. A conversation between Izuku and All Might. And they will talk about, basically upping the level that Izuku is at, upping the skill, upping the power that he can maintain. But Izuku would eventually, after, a lot of a back and forth, would decline the offer of One for All. Decline the offer of being granted a power from All Might. And he promises All Might that none of this, the idea of One for All, none of it comes out of his mouth ever again. And he tells them just flat out, like, don't worry, your secret is safe with me, and there's nothing that's going to change, right? Like, he's flat out telling them, like, you don't gotta worry. Yes, you offered me this, and yes, this is important, but I'm not going to sit here and go blab about it somewhere else. I'm not going to bring it up somewhere else. I'm not going to do any of that, because I respect you too much, and I idolize you way too much to do anything that would be that disrespectful. And of course, that would be greatly appreciated by All Might. And All Might would tell him that he's going to be a fantastic hero no matter what. And Izuku believes that to be so as well. And Izuku has many different opportunities in terms of internships, and a lot of different people he could definitely choose from. But eventually he actually would choose the same person that All Might would train with or was mentored by a long time ago, being that he was offered Gran Torino via All Might, because he just believed that even if he didn't take on One for All, that he should be given the opportunity to train with somebody like Gran Torino, someone of that stature, and that's exactly what he's going to do. And for that little time he trains with him, he learns how to control his own strength, his own power, and really up the ante in terms of that high flying capabilities. And he knows to not lean too heavily into his just bruiser-esque powerhouse type of kind of style, you could say. And Izuku really takes this to heart, takes every criticism, takes every little bit from Gran Torino, and he does this because in the wrestling scene, it was all about learning. He was all about figuring things out, all about trying to get better. And it's the same premise. It's the same exact premise that he goes through. So he takes every word from Gran Torino straight to his heart, and he makes sure that he gets everything to perfection. And eventually, he would have to try and test out all of those things that he's been working on, because he would stumble across one of his friends, one of his buddies, and one of his classmates, someone, well, by the name of Tenya Ida. And Tenya Ida, well, he is about to be killed by the hero killer. And the hero killer needs to be stopped now. And Izuku Midoriya would stand right in front of him and tell him that he's not going to hurt anyone else ever again, and that he's going to stop everything that he's been trying to do, and he's going to stop it from all happening. And let's just say the hero killer laughs at Izuku, thinks it's a joke, but when they start fighting, he realizes quickly it's not a joke, because Izuku starts flying, or basically flinging himself around the area, tackling and spearing and suplexing the hero killer. And the hero killer tries to cut him, tries to slow him down, and tries to do something, but it seems as if even Izuku sees it all. It's like he is rampaging to the point where he can't even be touched, and it's shocking, like absolutely shocking. But eventually Izuku would feel as if he had the upper hand so much that it was time for the pin to put the man down. And he would end it off with one final swanton from the top of the building, and he would pin him. 1, 2, 3. But as the 3 count would ring off in his own head, he would get cut one time, and he would Stain would lick the blood of Izuku, and he would go completely paralyzed. But who would be completely paralyzed as well? Well, that would be Stain, who just got pinned on a 3 count and is stuck on the ground beneath him. So him, or Izuku, and Stain lay there completely stuck in place, at least until the other heroes arrive. And that would include Endeavor showing up, taking the credit for what occurred, but that's mostly because the kids, well, they would get into some serious trouble if they didn't have the credit taken by an actual pro hero. And after this is all said and done, they would go to the hospital, and they would be told a couple things like, hey, you can't be doing that, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And Izuku would tell Tenya that if he wants revenge, if he wanted that, right, he wanted it back in blood, then he better figure out how to get the job done better than that. He was an idiot, a really stupid idiot, because guess what he did? He didn't think about what was happening. He didn't think about what was going to happen. He just went. He just went to try to get the job done, and nobody with a clouded mind ever gets the job done. And he tells him that next time he wants revenge, maybe do better and actually plan your damn revenge instead of just running in like a damn idiot. And which Izuku would be pretty damn harsh about it. Like, he was pretty damn harsh about every word he could possibly say. But he knows it needs to be that way, because Tenya, he's a good guy, he's a good kid, but he knows that he can't be doing stupid stuff like that, because things could end really badly really fast. But before you know it, this would send them to their final exams, and their final exams would include a practical and a written portion. Obviously, they study for the written portion, but the practical you cannot be ready for no matter what. And that is definitely because the practical is no robots. It's not a bunch of robots and a bunch of metal-like beings. No. It is actually other heroes. And this right here is a pretty interesting thing to deal with, because Izuku and Bakugo have to take on legitimately the greatest hero alive in All Might himself. But Izuku is up for the challenge, and he tells Bakugo that they just have to get along for a little bit. Stand side by side, be a duo, be tag team partners. And he tells him, how about this? We can even take turns, going back and forth and beating up on All Might and trying to defeat him. Just make sure to tag in and tag out. And he tells Bakugo this, and he believes that, and has really been able to tell that his power does change and honestly grows, and the other person as well, when they do this. In which, of course, Izuku would obviously lead them to taking on All Might, and Bakugo kind of taking that first chance. Bakugo would actually do pretty decent. Now, he wouldn't beat All Might or anything like that, but he would do pretty decent. But eventually he would be pushed to the edge to where he had to tag in Izuku, and Izuku would come in and he would go crazy. I mean, Izuku's power would be amplified from the idea of actually utilizing a tag team. But on top of that, he would have been granted so much more power than before. Like, he was way stronger than before. And he starts suplexing All Might. Suplex after suplex, taking him down to suplex absolute city, And he's going crazy at this point. And even everybody around that is watching, they're cheering, they're chanting, and they're giving everything they can to basically allow Izuku to gain even more strength and power. But with one final tag team move, they are able to end the fight, as Bakugo would land explosions and so much more, and Izuku would tell him to pin All Might and end the fight for good. And that's exactly what he would do. Pin All Might, he would be stuck in the ground, and they would be deemed the winners. And Izuku and Bakugo, just for that little moment, would actually share a pretty good, damn, maybe we are pretty good duo. Maybe we are we can really be something here. It's as a duo and as a little tag team or whatever. And of course, they kind of shrug this off and shake it off. But at the same time, they can tell that, hey, maybe if we get along a little better, we really can be some of the better heroes to live. And that right there is 100% the idea, right? It's 100% a possibility in that regard. Now, as Izuku and Bakugo would come to that conclusion, obviously they would be allowed to go to the forest training camp. And the forest training camp would offer a ton of training, a ton of progression for Izuku, and so many more. But another thing that happens is, a villain invasion. The League of Villains seemed to not be done, and they would invade the forest training camp in hopes to actually capture one person, to capture somebody they believe, can truly help them and change everything. And that is Izuku Midoriya. After a long battle throughout the forest, and after even taking on a giant monster of a person by the name of Muscular, taking him on full-fledged, no holds bars, it seems like Izuku would go head to head to the point where, yes, he defeats Muscular, but he's extremely tired, exhausted, and he is taken away before you know it by Shigaraki and the League of Villains. And they tell him flat out that it's time. That it's time for him to be who he's supposed to be. It is time for him to become the villain. In which Izuku's like, what are you talking about? What is going on in that head of yours that you would think that I would ever become the villain? In which this is when All For One would show his face. All For One would show his face and tell Izuku that he's going to become the villain, and he has no choice in it at all, because that All For One, is the reason why he's even standing here in the first place. The reason why the people cheer, and the reason why he feels all that power build up when he hears his name and the lights are bright, and when he's jumping off that top rope. He's the reason why he feels even better than he has ever had before. In which this would shock Izuku, would be like, what are you talking about? Are you insane? You're an idiot. You're an idiot if you think you had anything to do with anything. But All For One would admit that he was quirkless, that Izuku Midoriya was quirkless. And really, he still is. But All For One gave him something, a power of something, a power that allowed him to channel something that he was so fond over, to channel the art of pro wrestling, so much so that he was granted abilities that are beyond anything imaginable. But another thing that he needs to understand is that, well, the big boss always has the final say. And whatever the big boss says, well, the big boss gets. And as he says this, Izuku's in shock, thinking, what are you talking about? But All For One would tell him, or basically tell him straight up, that he thinks it's time for the heel turn of Izuku Midoriya. And when he hears this, he hears the word heel, as something snaps and something changes in the mind of Izuku Midoriya. And he doesn't know what is going on and what is flooding through his brain. But All For One tells him that a choice is to be made. And that choice, it needs to come quickly, because he can have everything he ever wanted. Everything and more. But he just needs one last decision. Izuku is released by the League of Villains, sent off, and just a day later, an attack would ensue. An attack of All For One. An attack of the League of Villains. And Izuku Midoriya would stand there, watching the TV, as All Might would go head to head with All For One. Go head to head and watch everything unfold. And as everything's unfolding, as All For One stands there mocking, well, All Might, Izuku goes out there to help, stands next to All Might, stands there with pride in every fist, and stands there knowing he can help. He approaches All For One, and as he does, he would look at All For One and then turn toward All Might briefly and hit him with an RKO. And as he does, and as All For One's body would hit the ground, and as Izuku would point toward All For One and also point toward, well, All Might, he would tell All For One that if he wants the pin, if he wants the defeat, he can take it. But All For One shakes his head and says that there's more ways in defeat than just a pin. And Izuku Midoriya would immediately put All Might in a headlock, and as he does, he would start cranking, and eventually All Might would pass out cold entirely, and he would be defeated right then and there, unable to move. And All For One would grab All Might and take him away, and he would tell right into the screen, right into the cameras, that this is where things change. That this world always has looked at heroes as entertainment, has always looked at everything as entertainment, and it wasn't always strictly real. Now, what they need to understand is, just like professional wrestling, there might be predetermined outcomes from time to time, but let's be completely honest, it is real. And as he speaks these words, It seems like his plan is unfolding. His plan is coming to its absolute climax, its peak. And All For One is making it all happen right in front of them as Izuku walks side by side with All For One, and he made a choice. And All For One last thing, and he would say, he would look back toward the camera, and he would give it a wave. And he would tell them that soon everything will be theirs. Soon everyone will bow down to them. And soon everyone will understand their place. And they should really do one thing, and that is acknowledge him. And as he says this, he would tell them that they don't have many choices, and truly, eventually, everything will be inevitable. And that is not a prediction, it is a spoiler. And as that ensues, they would walk through a portal together, Izuku and All For One, and everybody would be in shock. This can't be happening. What is going on? And, well, just flat out, it's determined that Izuku is under some sort of mind control. Not that simple, at least, but to an extent, mind control. Believing that what he's doing is all a part of the script, all a part of what needs to happen. But a lot of people at UA, they wonder, and a lot of people in the hero world wonder, does the good guy always win? Will the script eventually change? Or will the bad guy reign supreme on top forever? And Izuku Midoriya would be at the forefront of everything with All For One. Even so much so that he helps All For One, Shigaraki, and many others continue building up their own power, their own strength, their own ability. And then eventually, well, let's just say that Izuku would show himself once again in front of countless people, countless number of people, and he would tell them that soon All For One will arrive, and soon you all will acknowledge us, acknowledge him, and everybody will understand exactly their place. And as all this is happening, as everybody hears this, boos would rain out. Everybody would chant everything, all these negative chants like you suck and like you can't wrestle and all these things. But it's only making it worse. These chants allow Izuku to seep deeper and deeper into his heel run and deeper into being the villain that All For One wanted so badly. Because guess what? This hero world, well, to an extent, it's a little bit fake. So he thought, what's the best way to make the perfect person, the perfect dog that would be loyal, and the perfect dog that could truly exceed all expectations? And that is to make things a little bit fake. Make things a little bit, you could say, scripted. And Izuku Midoriya is exactly that. And soon, All For One and an entire army, including Shigaraki, who has advanced in his own powers and skills, and Izuku in himself has literally advanced countless times. Because guess what? The boos make things so much worse. And, well, let's just say, in a war that is eventual, in a war that the heroes have really no say in, and in a war that the heroes really have no chance in, it seems like they have one last ditch effort. One last ditch effort. And as everybody can hear, as speakers would be placed up, and as countless numbers of people in Japan would start chanting, they would start chanting the name of Izuku Midoriya. They chant it over and over, and they start saying, "Thank you, Izuku," over and over. And then soon they continue those chants. They continue various chants, and they even continue chants of "come back," chants that are "we miss you," all these chants continue to ensue, and Izuku stands there, face crinkled up just a little bit, kind of annoyed, frustrated. But then his eyes would start going back to normal. His face would start going back to normal. These chants would grow louder, more and more and more. And eventually, Izuku would stand there, right next to All For One, right next to Shigaraki, and he would have a choice to make, a choice that he stands there besides them and allows this to unfold, or a choice, well, to do something different, do something greater, maybe, just maybe, sway the side back to theirs, back to their opportunity. And well, Izuku would look to his right and he would see a metal chair sitting there, a metal chair on the ground, and he would grab it and he would put that steel chair to the back of All For One and Shigaraki with a force that nobody could imagine, so much so that the entire place, like this entire city, feels the ripples of that chair smacking against both of them, and they would both collapse to the ground, because this is something they couldn't expect. They couldn't expect another turn, a turn all because of the chanting fans. The chanting fans no longer hated him. The chanting fans understood what was happening, and the chanting people, the people of Japan, understood what needed to be said. And Izuku surprises both All For One and Shigaraki and ensues in the basically collapse of the entire war and the side of All For One. And with their cockiness, with their reassurance of what was going to happen and how they were going to win, they didn't check every box. Shigaraki didn't have every power he needed, and none of them were anywhere near invincible, anywhere near kind of perfect or untouchable. And eventually, they would really realize that they made a grave error, because if they just took the extra steps, it wouldn't have mattered that Izuku Midoriya turned right back into a face because of those chanting fans. It wouldn't have mattered at all. But now they can only think about that script, think about those odds, and think about what happened, especially think about those things all behind bars. And Izuku Midoriya, well, he may be put behind bars for a little bit and forced to rehabilitate, but soon he would be back doing exactly what he's always wanted to do, and that is wrestle. And that's exactly where Izuku Midoriya's head is headed, and exactly where his entire want for just anything is headed as well. But that is the end of this story. The story of what if Deku was a pro wrestler. And if you enjoyed, show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. Yeah, I know it was a little different of a story. I was like, you know what? Let's go in this direction. I was kind of debating with how I wanted to do it. I was like, I'm going to do it this way just to mess around and have a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, though, nonetheless. And, yeah, that's all I really got to say. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.